Large Titanite. I could just spend the souls and go all the way. Right about 4 o'clock. We got chunks. Oh, hell, we got chunks.
Don't waste my time.
I will do that probably off the stream, just to, because that's... We've already done a lot of messing around here. Seriously though, what is this Muglid shop?
You?
It's not this guy. Girl. Thing. Person. I suppose I should probably buy those guys or something. I hardly ever use them anyway.
Lowly times these are.
The guy at Majula wearing yellow gear. Oh, what, this guy?
Oh, I've stocked some new things, and I thought that you might be interested. They've been selling rather well, and I may step up operations soon. I'm surprising even myself, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I guess I did upgrade his stuff by buying from him. Oh, look at all this. Elite Knight armor? Oh, that's fun. And, oh, no wonder everyone's got Smelter Demon stuff. Looking Glass Knight. This is probably just bosses I've beaten, honestly. Yeah, how about that? Iron Parma. None of that stuff is really interesting. That guy's kind of interesting. Nice Great Shield. So yeah, if we want to be Elite Knight, we can still totally do that. However, I think dealing with all this shop nonsense is
always
something
open
that
for business.
Something that I'm going to deal with another time. Probably off the stream, just so it's not cluttering up the main stream. Anyway, I think it being a little bit past, just a few minutes past 4, I think I'm going to call it there for the day before we, because this seems like a good place to stop. There's a whole bunch of just busy work to do before we get on with New Game Plus. And I'm not going to have you guys sit through that. So, and apparently there's even more stuff you can upgrade if you just spend even more souls. 3 states. Huh. Yeah, stuff I'll look into. Definitely. Anyway, closing thoughts about Dark Souls 2. I already did a little bit of this in the credits. But I think that there's some things it does better than Dark Souls 1, other things it does worse. I think that the enemy placement in Dark Souls 1 is probably tighter, if memory serves. I can't really comment on that without doing a really super in-depth analysis. This is just more like a first impressions kind of thing. It's really the broad strokes of both, though, that I kind of question. Like, there's... these limited quantity items is such an ancient RPG tradition, and, like, it's so many ramifications throughout the entire design. Like, let me go into the items here. Like, should I be using these life gems or should I not? Should I be using them to, like, I mean, if I have them and I am trying to succeed, then absolutely I should. But do I use them during the stretch that I'm having difficulty with to save Estus flasks? Or do I save them for the potentially even harder, thing way down the line? How do I even make that decision if I'm not familiar with the game? There is a game called, there's a game called Rainslick Precipice of Darkness, and there's 4 entries in the series. I think there might be even, like, 5 now or something like that. But 3 and 4 are super interesting in that they go all the way when it turns to, like, taking each individual fight and turning it into its own little separate kind of puzzle competition kind of thing, where, like, all the items were basically limited quantity use for the battle, and then they recharged afterwards. Like, the spells are all, like, you start off with 0 magic points, you get 1 magic point per turn, and then you spend the spells just basically based off of like what your overall strategy for, like, what kind of spell order and spell rotation that you want to use. And there's none of this long-term, like, resource, like manage this resource for the entire game. Like, you know, for content that you haven't even seen yet. And like what inevitably what that happens is you end up with like Elizabeth mushrooms that you never use. You end up never using the Crimson water or the Rogue water because like they're just so good, and like you never know when you might need it later. These two items don't even need to exist alongside of each other. You could just give me this Aged Feather right away. It doesn't. There's no reason to do that, and there's no reason to have us use the Dark Sign. You know, like there's just like allow us to start the level over if we feel like we need to, and that kind of thing. So overall, there's a lot of RPG traditions that just don't need to be there. I like the stats, like the fact that you kind of have to make decisions about what stats that you get over others that have ramifications on your build to some degree, and your primary gain of power was, you know, what weapon or armor set that you were using, which was enabled by what stats that you had. So it wasn't, you didn't get stats, you didn't get a whole lot of power directly from stats, but you rather, you know, like gave up certain stats to use certain equipment in order for other stats. You know, like, so that was really strong. I don't think you need to upgrade the weapons because that's just leveling up RPG nonsense that, like, again, if you haven't read my game design blog at theluddite.com, TheLudite.com, read through the leveling systems articles, and it does a much better job explaining things. If nothing else, it keeps the difficulty at a very even pace. Like, I spent so much time in this game deciding what weapon I wanted to upgrade, when I should just upgrade the weapon right away, and, like, I started, like, lagging behind the power curve. There's no reason for that. Just let me use the weapon that I think that is going to be appropriate. For whatever situation that I'm in. And there's no reason to like let me lag statistically behind. Like that just messes with your intended difficulty and it makes it harder for you to design the game overall. It's hard on you, the designer, you know, like it's not even like a personal preference thing. It just like, it really ends up kind of being counterproductive in one or more ways. And most of the time you end up doing that just for the sake of like giving the player +1s and, you know, giving like some sort of weird sense of progression, which, you know, when I hear a sense of progression from, you know, people who say, oh, you take the leveling system, when where's the sense of progression? Well, what he's actually saying is, like, if you don't let players have +1s, how will the players have +1s? The sense of progression comes from completion of the content. There is no reason to have to artificially gate people through leveling power curves. It gives rise to, like, the level 1 runs, which are kind of interesting. But, like, that's just, at least in Dark Souls, that's even possible, where, like, the statistical, like, as long as you dodge everything, like, it's even possible to do that. In most RPGs, like, it's just like, oh, the enemy attacked and you died because, like, statistic and dice rolls said so. You know, so, like, again, Dark Souls doesn't have the worst leveling system in the world. I question whether it needs it, though, because I wonder what Dark Souls without a leveling system looks like. It's probably not that much different. Probably looks a lot more like Castlevania 1, which I think I would approve of. Anyway, those are just some real basic thoughts that I can think of at the top of my head. I will probably be doing a much larger write-up of the Dark Souls, kind of a more or less review on my game design blog. It'll take me quite a while, though. I've compiled a lot of notes from my old videos and, like, just my own thoughts, so that might be a while in coming, but watch for it. I'm working on another article right now, so probably, possibly after that one. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by in the stream, everybody. I'm glad you all have a good time with me, and special thanks to Werniak for walking me through all the end game stuff, just like making sure I don't miss anything like that. If you haven't already given the channel a follow, please do so that you can be informed of all of my streams and check out some of the other games that I play. And make sure you stop by for Game Design Friday, where I play a game as a one-off and comment on its design just there. And if you have a suggestion for what game you want me to play for Game Design Friday, please do so. I already have a few suggestions in the works, and we will see whether or not how those games pan out in terms of, like, what order I want to do them in, and what things I think would be really super relevant sort of games to try to review. Anyway, I'm out for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by, and all you out there out in Twitch land, have the best of days.